One of the blessings of ministry and this odd career path is spending time with people of all ages. I've learned so much from the rainbow of people and their lived experiences here at Tapestry. For the past year or so, one conversation in particular has especially impacted my outlook. I had a one-on-one meeting with Bev Huff. I almost warned you, Bev, that I was going to sing your praises, but I decided not to. She updated me in this conversation about her work as a legal advocate for immigrants. She was frustrated that at her age, she's only able to work so many hours in the day. Keep in mind, Bev is doing highly complicated legal work for free. Bev is someone who I've heard many people in their 40s and 50s say they want to be like her when they grow up. As we talked, Bev asked how old I was. I don't remember exactly when this was and when this conversation was, but I was definitely in my early to mid 40s, and she said, "Oh, that's a wonderful age." And this is where the powerful statement took root. It wasn't just whimsy. Bev enumerated the benefits of my age. She reminded me, your body still works reliably. You have a little money in the bank, so it's not like your 20s or 30s. You aren't feeling the insecurity of teenage years or young adulthood. And best of all, you're in the thick of your career, established and growing and changing. Talk about looking at midlife reckoning in a whole new light. Bev reminded me, from her perspective, that these are the golden years. On my bad days, when I'm feeling challenged, those words of wisdom come back. I remind myself what a blessing it is to be you right now. It's not perfect or easy, but what a great age right now. I want to balance Bev's wisdom with something that has been a guiding principle for my mom in parenting and in grandparenting. With children, often the question arises, don't you like this particular age? It's usually referring to infants. Or people say, thank God the terrible twos are over. Or they just ask the question, what's your favorite age with kids? And without hesitation, my mom's consistent answer is, I don't have a favorite age. I like them all. I've heard this conversation play out between her and various people throughout the years, over and over. She points out that every age and stage of development offers unique opportunities. They're learning new things and excited in totally different ways about adventures. Every 6 months, or maybe even more often when they're younger, they experience the world in new ways. My mom encourages parents and now her fellow grandparents to savor each of those phases because they will pass in the blink of an eye. And it is true. Each of those ages offers a new kind of excitement for kids. Between you and me, she is glad that my niece and nephew have outgrown the arguing with each other from no point at all phase. That was not fun. But more generally, every phase of our life presents great opportunities. As I started looking into respecting our elders for this sermon, I was surprised. Perhaps my naivete was a privilege of middle-aged. I anticipated finding plenty of articles about the great wisdom that comes with age and the many traditions of respecting people who have learned life's lessons. Instead, the majority of what I found was about reducing age discrimination. The first website I clicked on made the bold claim that elders should be treated like someone who is younger than you or a peer, because that's basic human respect. Brilliant. It wasn't at all about the pillar of honor that seniors are placed on. It was about the necessary work of bringing their status back up to equals. It really hadn't occurred to me how forgotten the idea of respecting our elders is in the United States. In discussion with the worship committee, one of the motivations for this week's service was to explore some of the cultural differences in how we see elders. Here in the United States, as Cheryl was talking about, we have some challenges. At one level, there's the obsession with the look of youth. Layer on top of that marketing pop culture and consumer goods to target young adults and to use the beauty of youth to sell those products. Perhaps a deeper layer is the Protestant work ethic. In our career-driven world, an individual's worth is tied to their ability to work and produce. So if you're over 60, there's not a whole lot of interest in what you bring to the table. We aren't even comfortable talking about older people. Older adult seems to be the current preferred language. I guess the word senior has some suggestions of frailty. I see some cringes out there. But no one is clear what the respectful language is. I'm curious if you have preferred language. Not all cultures shy away from the word old, though. In her book, On Becoming Fearless, Arianna Huffington describes what she learned about elders in Greece. She writes, 10 years ago, I visited the monastery in Terry on the island of Rhodes with my children. There, as in all of Greece, abbots are addressed by everyone as geronda, which means old man. Abbesses are called gerondissa. Not exactly terms of endearment in my adopted country, she says. The idea of honoring old age, indeed identifying it with wisdom and closeness to God, is in startling contrast to the way we treat aging in America, she says. In most African cultures today, the role of elders remains critical, albeit evolving with cultural and time. While globalization challenges traditional practices, the wisdom and values imparted by elders continues to guide and inspire younger generations. Many years ago, I was visiting Senegal with a friend of mine. I had previously been a volunteer in the Peace Corps in a neighboring country in West Africa, and he was at that time organizing study abroad programs all over the world. So our travel style was very adventurous. On this trip, we wanted to go visit this famous Muslim pilgrimage site in the city of Touba in Senegal. We found ourselves in an old station wagon in the way back third row. To get us started on our journey on the fringes of the Sahara Desert, a swarm of men gathered around our car, giving it a push start. We knew we were going to be back there for a few hours. In the front seat was an impeccably dressed, older Senegalese woman. In West African culture, these women are referred to as tantes, or aunties, basically. They have a great authority with their age and status, and so when we, in the far back seat, heading into the Sahara, asked for the window to be rolled down, no one had a second thought with the tantie in the front seat when she didn't want to roll her window down more than a few inches because it would ruin her hair. Over several hot hours, we learned the challenging lesson about the power of respecting elders in that culture. Many Asian cultures also have deep respect for elders. There are several sources of that. One of the sources is probably Confucianism and the principle of filial piety. Though Confucius was Chinese, the influence spread quite far. Younger members of a family are explicitly expected to have duty for their aging members of the family. It's customary in Korea, I learned, to have a big celebration to mark the 60th and 70th birthday of a person. The 60th birthday is a joyous time when children celebrate their parents passing into older age. In Chinese cultures, even among Chinese Americans, 70th birthdays are a huge celebration, on par with the scale of a wedding. It's a reminder that reaching older age is a great blessing. It just so happens that 70 is also a very auspicious number in Chinese culture. A couple of friends of mine, though, are the oldest sons in their Korean American families. They take on tremendous responsibility for taking care of and doing the bidding of their parents. An incredible sense of deference is expected of them. While these guys do what is expected, the way they talk about their parents when not in front of them makes me wonder, is this more a sense of obligation? Is deference the same as respect? This week I was glad to come upon a study that helped unpack the way some cultures view elders. And I suddenly realized that instruction to respect your elders is really vague. There's a huge range of actions we can take and call it respect. In a 2017 study, they questioned over 3,000 college students from 26 cultures on 6 different continents about their culture's view of aging. Study participants were asked about their perceptions of age through a list of 8 characteristics. They included physical attractiveness, ability to do everyday tasks, ability to learn new information, general knowledge, wisdom, respect received from others, authority in the family, and life satisfaction. The college students were asked to rate their perception of aging and then rate their culture's perception of aging in these various categories. Personally, they mostly had a slightly negative view. However, they all thought the societal view was neutral or at least minimally positive. This makes me feel much better about my own ignorance of the way we view aging. But this is where I think it gets really interesting. Across all the cultures, there was consensus about the deficits and the benefits of aging. Across the 26 cultures, they agreed that aging comes with a decrease in physical attractiveness, ability to do everyday tasks, and learning new things. At the same time, cultures agreed that aging comes with an increase in general knowledge, wisdom, and respect. Most cultures and respondents agreed that the characteristics of aging, agreed with the characteristics of aging, whether they were positive or negative. So I ask again, in the common admonition to respect our elders, what exactly does respect mean? Give them complete control over the whole family? Keep them safe with bland food and a bland surrounding, safe from the outside world? Does it mean a forced retirement age? Or shaming people who don't work well into their 70s? What does respect mean? I'm beginning to think that honoring the wisdom of age goes hand in hand with honoring people of all the beautiful differences among us. Guess what? We all have different strengths and weaknesses. We come from various cultures with rich traditions. We have different intellectual and physical gifts, and those differences, those gifts, mature over time. We have learned, I hope, that attempting to erase differences of race or gender or ability is not the road to building beloved community. Yes, it is at the core of our spiritual journey to celebrate the spark of life that is in each person in equal measure. It's also our mission to honor and to celebrate the differences that make each of us unique. One of those beautiful differences worth acknowledging and celebrating is age. We usually talk about the wisdom of age, suggesting that wisdom is the fruit of surviving life experience. Navigating decades of family, friendship, career, losses, and victories accumulates hard-won insight. It's also true that many people face hardship and life lessons at a much faster rate, at a very young age. One of my favorite TV distractions is RuPaul's Drag Race. It's a reality TV show that's basically a big drag competition. It's an elimination-style format. There are 16 seasons of the show. I've watched all 16 of them, and spin-offs that include all sorts of different countries around the world. Like any reality TV show, there's a formula involved. It's an elimination-based show, so the pool gets smaller and smaller as we get to know participants better and better. In an episode near the end of each season, RuPaul holds up a picture of each of the contestants as children, one by one. The photos are probably ages 4 to 10, I would guess. They are adorable pictures, and Ru asks each contestant standing where they are today, pretty darn successful, what they would tell little Ricky or Juan or Joey. Sometimes they have carefully composed answers because they knew this question was coming. Sometimes, though, the contestants engage the exercise with deep sincerity. Keep in mind, these are photos of young queer people, often gender non-conforming people. In most cases, before they had come to realize their own identity, and certainly before they had charted a course toward living their full selves. Many of them also come from financially marginal backgrounds. And the affirmation that these successful young adults offer their child queer selves is astounding. It ranges from "it gets better," "fight back," "your parents will come around," or "one day you will find a circle that is your true family." They thank their younger selves for the courage and perseverance that they were able to muster. It's astounding to witness a person who has persevered and struggled offer sincere blessing to their younger self. And it's a reminder of the profound challenges many, many very young people face. Some of us have had the privilege to know people who are asylum seekers in the United States or immigrants, mostly through our FOCD program. The stories of violence, both political and personal violence, are nauseating. They're at times too much to listen to, but you don't want to stop anyone because it's a gift of trust that they are sharing. I'll never forget, over dinner with Peggy and a couple of young women from Russia, over dinner, this asylum seeker recounted having been assaulted so violently, this is a transgender woman, that the attackers attempted to cut out the breast augmentation that she had previously had done. It wasn't about killing her, this was about hatred. This young woman had a legal education. She was articulate, outspoken, and would never be safe in her home country again. I believe she was probably in her early 30s at the time of that conversation. Other immigrants and asylum seekers face danger in their early lives that most of us won't see in 5 lifetimes. Person after person I've met, those who had the will to survive, make their way here and seek asylum, their stories are so harrowing. And for the most part, in the wake of that, they have found the ability to thrive as human beings. As I was preparing this morning, I realized that the other segment that I didn't include in my initial writing was the soldiers, the youngest of whom probably see the most violence in war, that one day come home with what they've experienced. My point is that, yes, wisdom comes with age, but life is full of challenges, sometimes starting from a very early age. Sometimes the greatest thing we can hope for is finding the resources to survive what life throws at us. Part of our journey is to survive. I deeply believe that part of our work is to survive in this racist, misogynistic, capitalistic culture, to survive with as much of our humanity intact as we can. With time, with compassion, from loving community, perhaps with some skilled mental health professionals, with faith, with art, with nature, love, light, air, and some time. With all the resources our beautiful world has to offer, if we are lucky, those obstacles can be transformed into wisdom. It is, in fact, a blessing to grow into a wise elder. It is a blessing to survive and to thrive. And it's a blessing to be in the midst of so many people who have churned into the compost of life all of those challenges to produce such glorious fruit. Amen.